MustGrow is an ag tech company focused on patented, natural, science-based plant protection and soil amendment solutions. We've got CEO Corey Giasson joining us and COO Colin Bletsky. The company issued a very substantial news release this morning, providing a broad update on the company's initiatives and commencement of commercial activities. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Tuesday, September the 24th. Please remember, this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Corey and Colin, welcome back. It's great to have you. It has been a while. How are things going?
Good. Thanks for having us again, Martin. We're looking forward to doing this presentation and taking question and answers. It's always a pleasure. Yeah. So thanks everybody for attending, and it's a pleasure for us to put out our pipeline update. It's been a great year for MustGrow. I mentioned back in 2003 we were starting the commercialization process, and what you're seeing here now is just the start of it. It's been a good year to have a product registered and sales commencing of TerraSate, and then also to sign a commercial agreement with Bayer. It's a pleasure to give an update on that as well. So we'll begin the presentation. Before I begin, I'd like to draw your attention to our disclaimer. It's your typical forward-looking statement disclaimer. There are forward-looking statements in this presentation which may differ from actual results. This presentation and the disclaimer can be read in detail on our website at mustgrow.ca. So before I begin, I just go back. I realize that a lot of you are shareholders, existing shareholders, and know about our company, but there might be some that are new to the company on this call. Just go back to what we're all about and what we're trying to do. We're trying to help farmers grow crops, whether that protect those crops from unwanted pests and disease, or to help feed the soil microbiome to help increase yields with our biofertility product. The products that we're utilizing are natural, they're organic, they're derived from mustard. We're the tech company. We've got over 112 patents issued and pending. That's up from about 84 last year. So we continue to grow our patent portfolio, which is very important to us. Our capital structure is tight. We're listed on the TSX Venture, 51 million shares outstanding, about 55 million fully diluted. That's important to us too as management, as we're shareholders of this company as well. As I mentioned, the company is evolving from being an R&D stage company to a commercial company, and we're targeting some initial commercial markets. On the biofertility side, TerraSate, a product that we now have registered in key US states, including California. It's also organically certified. Sales have started, and we look forward to seeing the initial sales ramp up starting next year, 2025, and then into 2026. On the soil biocontrol side, we're working on registrations here in the US and Canada, and now with our commercial partner Bayer, we're working with them in the EU to get Terra MG, our soil biocontrol pesticide registered in these areas. So, and the target area for our commercial partner Bayer is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. These types of natural, sustainable products are going to be more and more important in the future. And I know a lot of you have seen this slide before, but we've done some additions to it and provided some additional information. On the left, you can see that 162 countries around the world have banned 460 pesticides, and this is from the FAO. The US alone is using 72 pesticides that are currently banned or will be banned in Europe. That's significant. Europe seems to be the place where this is starting in terms of the natural regenerative agriculture. But the rest of the world, we believe, will follow. And products like ours are going to be in more and more demand. That's why we're partnered with Bayer. You can see they're targeting more than 400 million acres for regenerative agriculture. Europe alone is looking for 30% organic acres by 2030. So natural, sustainable products like MustGrows are going to be needed. And more food is going to be needed. So by 2030, they're expecting the pesticide and fertilizer market to be about $325 billion of sales. That's a significant number. It is growing. An increasing portion of that, though, is going to be on the biological side with a double-digit CAGR of about 10 to 13% slated during this time frame. Our pipeline, as you can see here on slide 5, has evolved from being R&D stage partnerships to commercialization. Again, sales starting with our biofertility product, TerraSate, in the US. It is registered in the key states. We're going to have more states registration, and Colin will go through that. But the go-to-market strategy that we're utilizing here for our biofertility product in North America is that we own the registrations. We are going to partner with the distribution companies or the private label companies, or go to direct to the market with partners like Tim and Mike, who you would have seen their quotations there in our news release, the BioAg production strategies or what have you. We're going directly to the market to get sales and show that we can produce the product, we can sell the product, and I know our goal is for 2025, 2026 to start to see initial sales ramp up. On the biocontrol side, we're working on registrations with Terra MG in North America and in the EU now with Bayer. The go-to-market strategy is twofold. North America, very similar to the biofertility, distribution, private labeling, and the rest of the world, such as Europe, Middle East, Africa, etc., we'll be utilizing commercial licensing agreements such as what we just signed with Bayer. A little bit earlier stage would be on the R&D side, trials and IP, post-harvest biocontrol. We've seen success there, had some great results. We can classify that to be more early to late stage development. And then there's still the discovery areas where we're working on formulations or initial testing, such as in the animal and human health, which we announced a grant with the Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. Exciting new area for us to test our molecules within those areas. But again, very early stage. Our focus day to day mostly is on the commercial aspects.
So I'm going to get into a little bit more on the products and opportunity on themselves. So just to remind everybody what TerraSante is. TerraSante is essentially a combination of the two extracts that we're utilizing in a wettable powder formulation. And what this technology does, it has a very good impact on the soil microbiome and the soil itself, really providing those plant nutrients to help the soil and the plant essentially blow through and be a little bit more resistant to different diseases and different pests. And when we look at this technology, one of the key things about it, it is both OMRI listed as well as OMI listed, which is the specific California state registrations. So right now for registrations is as well, we do have a lot of the key states: California, Florida, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and we continue to look at other states where we want to expand and where it makes sense, not only on a high value fruit and vegetable production area, but also down the road looking into more of the broad acre crops as well. Corey, if you want to go to the next slide. So when you think of TerraSante and what's happening in 2024, sales have started, and we are now moving product into growers testing in their own use. So we have the registration. We're in production through the tollers right now in Western Canada. Sales, marketing, driving it to revenue. So the difference here compared to something like we're doing in Canada, these growers are very large organizations, large companies, large farmers. In some situations, some of the growers are northwards of 50 to 60,000 acres of specific high value fruit and vegetable production. So for us, it's a key aspect to work with these large growers to show the value, work with their key influencers within their organizations to show what TerraSante can do and how it has an impact on their farm. The other key thing, as I mentioned, being organic, it gives us that great opportunity to work across multiple different facets, both in their conventional acres as well as in organic acres. And the other aspect is the flexibility for us to utilize our products over multiple applications over multiple years. A lot of times the synthetic versions only have one application or are limited to the amount of product that can be used in a certain state or certain region. We don't have those limitations with TerraSante. So when you think of this, there's a lot of opportunity for us on a multiple cutting. So if a grower is, potentially has 40 to 50,000 acres of strawberries or 40 to 50,000 acres of fruit and vegetables, there's multiple times of the year that they'll be going in and actually planting those crops in there. So instead of us thinking about one application per year over 1 acre, there's multiple applications now that we see an opportunity in. So there's a definite need. There's a definite need for something like TerraSante. And where we're doing and what the next steps are is really continue those registrations, expand the footprint of TerraSante across the US, mainly looking at the US like a horseshoe initially, and then looking at other regions. Continue these sales with the key influencers, really driving that penetration to those companies. And that's the thing, is working with the key influencers in each of the different regions around California into Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and really driving that. And then working through Tim and Mike. These two gentlemen have a tremendous amount of knowledge in the industry. They have a lot of opportunity and they have a lot of key relationships, and we're leveraging those relationships, leveraging those aspects to go and drive the technology into large organizations.
Yeah, and what you see here on this slide, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner chart there, you're looking at about 5.6 million acres of the high-value crops. So that's your fruit, vegetable, tree, nut, and vine, root, and tuber type crops. That's from third-party market research. The organic acres are about 186,000. If we estimate that we do about 3% of attainable at peak, that'd be about 188,000 acres, and based on our pricing, it would be about $100 million US of retail level revenue. Again, that's one application per year. As Colin mentioned, there is an opportunity for us in application on some of these acres, and we're quite excited about the potential market size here for TerraSante in the US.
Can I just jump in with a quick question here? You said you're targeting the US like a bit of a horseshoe. So, and you mentioned the crops that it's designed for. Just to clarify, that wouldn't be, let's say, a Midwest crop for wheat or corn or the big row crops. It's not designed or not necessarily have an application for that at this point?
At this time, no, Martin. So we are looking, like I said, the horseshoe. So if you think of the U.S. as a horseshoe region, that's where most of the high-value fruit and vegetables, the strawberries, leafy greens, cucurbits, the broccoli, cauliflower, and others. You think in Idaho, more potatoes. To get into the I states where a lot of corn, soy, and wheat is grown, not at this time. Hopefully, eventually, we are able to move into those regions and move into those areas at different applications. But for right now, it is targeted the West Coast and, through Florida up through Pennsylvania into Connecticut, those types of regions where there's more high value fruit and vegetable production.
In terms of production, we started production of TerraSante last year with our first commercial production run, which we announced. So we do have product we're selling product right now into these markets. We have identified toll manufacturers, and I think that's one of the neatest things about this company is that we're able to do it without having to invest in a plant to get our initial production. We have identified toll manufacturers that can do this, and we continue to look for more and more of them to be able to do it, to be able to ramp up production needs now and into the future, not just in North America, but in other jurisdictions around the world. Again, working with our partner Bayer, we're not only assessing their registration, but we're assessing the production aspects of it as well, which is pretty important as we move towards registration in Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
So moving forward to TerraMG. So TerraMG has been, I would say, one of the products that continues to perform, and hence why you see the partnership with Bayer and this product continuing to drive and how it works. So essentially, this is our soil biocontrol product that we are still going through registration processes with. And essentially, this molecule and this product when put together in the field is having a very efficacious control of both nematodes as well as disease. And a key thing about it as well, it is a different mode of action than typical chemistry. So when you look at things that have some different resistance barriers or other challenges, we do see this having a major impact in broad spectrum or in agriculture in the control side. So as Corey mentioned before, we are working through this with the US and Canada, EPA and PMRA, as well as now with Bayer and the EU region, working towards that registration phase. So getting a little bit more into the Bayer agreement and why we're so, we signed this in December, and it is, I believe, such a great thing. Bayer has been a tremendous partner. They've done a lot of great work for us and continue to do a lot of good work. But it is a commercial license for our product for those regions with a first right in the bananas as well. So when you look at it, Bayer is actually investing a tremendous amount of money over the next number of years to help and commercialize TerraMG in their regions. And that money included an upfront payment last year. It includes potential milestone payments as well as a royalty and COG plus on product once it's registered. The why around this, as Corey mentioned, you think of the why. Chemicals are under pressure, organic acres increasing. And right now, there's a lot of things that are happening in the agricultural space and a lot of organizations moving towards more sustainable actual technologies. So looking at the next steps with Bayer is continuing these registration processes, getting the dossier ready across multiple different countries and their regions, looking at additional development work, potentially new formulations, with a goal of getting a registration and sales in the next 3 to 7 years in those regions. And also on that is also continue testing in multiple countries and other regions around the globe and look at different opportunities, not only with Bayer, but other organizations in driving that commercialization stage in other parts of the world.
Yeah, and then again, the bottom right table that you see there for this territory, Europe, Middle East, Africa, our third-party market research shows about 23 million acres of the high-value crops listed there. Organic acres would be about 1.9 million. If we hit 3% of those attainable acres, you're looking at about 725,000 acres at peak market. Given the pricing, you're looking at about $320 million of retail level revenue. MustGrow, again, doesn't own the registration in these areas. Bayer would own the registration, but we would receive a royalty off of those sales. And again, this is just an estimate, but this is why we get to go to work every day. We want to be able to see if we can hit these targets and that. And these targets, what you see here in orange or yellow is that's the commercial, what we have commercialized here now. There's more left to be commercialized, in North America here with Terra MG. In Canada on canola and pulse crops, we're working on the registration there. And the go-to-market strategy, as I mentioned, would be more on the distribution type of go-to-market strategy. Again, it's in North America here. We own the registration. We're capable of getting these registrations and then partnering with the right groups to get the product into the markets. We're estimating about 90 million of grower level revenue there, given our attainable percent of total acres. For the rest of the world, other than what you see for Bayer, there's a large opportunity there. And our goal is to partner with commercialized groups here to get this product into the markets, eventually on an exclusive basis. But we're estimating almost a $2 billion grower level of peak revenue from the biofertility side, and then also on the soil biocontrol side. So it's a large number. I'm not saying that we're going to get 2 million, but if we get half of that, it would be amazing. If we get a quarter of that, it would be amazing. And it's a large market that we're targeting, and we've got an excellent product that is showing to be very efficacious. And we're quite excited about continuing the commercialization process as we move forward. As I mentioned, our capital structure remains tight, 50 million shares outstanding. We want to ramp up sales and without having to go and build a plant. That's our objective. We're utilizing tollers to go and do that. So I see our capital structure remaining very tight as we move forward. The goal for 2024 and 2025 is, again, a focus on commercialization. We want to get Terra sales ramp up starting next year. We want to be able to hit on that. We want to continue to advance registrations of TerraSate in other states that currently aren't registered, and also Terra MG. We want to be able to obtain registrations here in North America and then continue to push in Europe with Bayer. Again, continue to support Bayer in their territories on commercialization, whether that be registration or the production aspect. And again, they've been a great partner, and we look forward to continuing to work with them. And then expand commercial agreements. The areas that we have not commercialized, we are going to be working with numerous groups on a non-exclusive basis in these open areas to be able to work towards that commercialization. And we're not done generating IP. We continue to do that. We've expanded our patent portfolio. We're going to continue to look for ways to do that. But again, our focus is on commercialization here now, and that's the majority of our day spent on ramping up sales and continuing to foster our commercial relationships. Martin, at this time, I'd like to welcome any questions in that. So thank you, everybody, for attending.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump in and ask my question here first, since I'm the host. You mentioned the 3 and I believe 3.3% market or acreage share that your targets were based on, if I got that right. And I'm just curious, why 3? Is it just the types of crops, or why not 5 or 5%, or why not 1%? Why come to that 3-ish percentage point?
Yeah, so we've done some market research. We've gathered some market data, again, on the acres that exist out there, and then did some market research about positioning our product within that market at a certain price point. And that's the numbers that kind of spit out at us. It could be 4%, it could be 2%. We're not sure, But again, we've kind of approached it from a the top down, taking a look at the overall market and positioning our product in key areas, say in California or Idaho or where have you, at a certain price point and that. So, and that's at a given point in time. The market continues to evolve and change, and as products, synthetic chemicals or fertilizers are removed or restricted, that could change for us as well. Continue to potentially have more market penetration.
Is the TerraSante, is that, let's say, a unique product, or are you displacing or competing with some non-organic or more chemical-based products that are out there?
So it's both, Martin, and I'm gonna have to structure this in a way. So in organic acres, it is very unique on how it's utilized and the opportunity with it. But when it comes down into different areas within California, it is meant to potentially replace other means of what growers are using today. Specifically, if I look at in the market, the mustard extracts, mustard meals going into ASD, which would be rice brands and others, and into other more synthetic fertilizer options. So there's a definite replace area, but there's also a definite open market opportunity for the use of this based on how it performs. So it goes in both areas.
Now that production of TerraSante is underway, how quickly can the company expand production if demand is higher than anticipated?
Yeah, I mean, we're assessing that. It's hard to say for us. We have product into the market. We're looking to assess how we can start ramping up production, and to be able to do that. So again, it's hard for us to know how quickly that can be done, but the capacity is definitely there.
And the toll manufacturers, there are plenty of them out there. You're not beholden to a monopoly of sorts, and it's fairly straightforward to produce.
We've produced with a few different toll manufacturers, and we continue to scour the market for more in that. So yeah, we don't want to be beholden to one or two. Again, we want to find numerous options that can be had.
All right. What are the next key states the company is looking for approval for TerraSante? You mentioned the horseshoe, so I guess it's other pieces in the horseshoe.
Yeah, like I said, Texas, Connecticut, even New Mexico, going up the west coast or the East Coast, Pennsylvania, and even into New York State. So looking at those first and foremost, and then potential expansion from there. Tim keeps asking me to register in Hawaii. He thinks there's a tremendous opportunity in Hawaii, but that'll be one further down the road.
With the expansion of TerraSante and the potential for Terra MG, should we expect the company to take on debt in the future to further production?
As I mentioned before, we're assessing all options in terms of the expansion, and debt would be one of them. Yeah.
And you address this, but let's just make it clear. Is the company considering owning a production facility in the future?
Again, we assess all options. We want to make sure that we have all options covered, and it's important for us to maintain a very tight capital structure. 50 million shares, that's important to us. We're shareholders and that. But again, we need to make sure that all bases are covered, and yeah, we look at everything.
I would think the strategy, that's not something you would do first. You build distribution, you work with your toll partners, and then if you see you've got consistent certain levels of volume, you could then contemplate building a facility to do that. So you don't start with the facility, you use the toll processors and then sort of backfill with the facility as you see demand sort of stabilizing or the pathway for that.
Yeah, 100%. And then we'll have to take a look at the cost benefit down the road of owning your own facility. Well, if we're able to significantly increase our margins, that would be a good investment, I think, for MustGrow. But that's down the road further.
All right. Based on the recent announcement of not extending the relationships with Sumitomo, Nexus, and Janssen, it would appear the company is going all in with Bayer. Is that the case? And if so, why the pivot, as they wrote here?
So in this one, Martin, going in all in with Bayer would be no, not at this point. Do we look at all options? Yes. There are other multiple players in this market that are very aggressive and very excited about different technologies and different ways to look at things. So at this point, I would say no, definitely not all in with Bayer, but if we always keep that open and look at those opportunities.
All right. But you're all in with Bayer in Europe, Mid East, and Africa, right?
That is correct. Based on the agreement with them and what they are working with and the payments they've made to us, we are 100% with Bayer in Europe, Africa, and Middle East. Correct.
Just with the end of the exclusive agreements with the Nexus, Janssen, and Sumitomo, you could still work with them on a non-exclusive basis and have multiple partners in a region or splice up those regions and maybe do one exclusive deal in, let's say, country A and do a different one in country B. Is that the flexibility it gives you going forward?
That's correct, Martin. So by the agreements, the I would say option and R&D agreements being done, we now have the ability and can work with this and work with other organizations or any organization for that matter in any region. And I think I explained this probably about a year or two ago. It may not be regional access, it may not be product access, it could be country level access, it could be even within a country level access. So we look at all different opportunities. We look at all the opportunities on the table, and we look for the best commercial alignment and fit. I'm going to go back to Bayer's agreement with us in Europe, Africa, and Middle East. They presented a very, very good case to us and worked towards us, worked with us, and it is a very good commercial partnership, and we continue to drive that and look for those opportunities in other regions. But like I said, it could be country level, it could be crop level, and it could even be down to a state level type of an agreement that we can play in. But we can still discuss with any of those groups.
All right. And the registration process that can be cumbersome and time consuming. You could take that on, or maybe one partner would take it on for a certain country that's each. You can't say specifically right now how the registration process is going to be. That's on, call it a case by case basis.
Yeah, it'd be case by case. So, like I said, back to Bayer, Europe, Africa, and Middle East, they are the ones who are putting together the dossier to put in front of the European authorities and to work with the member states. In other parts, Canada, US, we're working on that on our own and working towards that. In other parts, it could be multiple different models. So, depending on the country, depending on the agreement, depending on the target, it will dictate how we go and do those registration packages.
And sorry, just to emphasize, with Bayer, it is strictly currently with the Terra MG. The Terra Sante is or is not part of that agreement.
At this point, it is Terra MG as well as our future, I would say, formulations within that segment.
Has the registration process in Europe begun yet?
So, like I said, just mentioned, Bayer is getting together the dossier. That takes a considerable amount of time and effort. They're building that dossier now. They're getting ready to put it in front of the member states. And we do have meetings with Bayer coming at the end of October to go through the full project plan to understand where everything is at and to work with their team.
Someone wrote in, when reading the presentation, the slide that has potential initial production, you have the term near term. What is considered near term to MustGrow?
Near term would be now and in the next few years. We identified production capacities that of estimated 250 to 500 tons of Terra Sante equivalent, and that tollers that are capable of potentially producing that amount of product.
The growth strategy for this company seems to have been predicated on a partnership model, beginning first with R&D and then graduating to commercial partnerships. What does the dissolution of these partnerships do to this strategy? Are there other prospective partners? I think you've largely addressed that. Is there anything you want to add?
The only thing I would add is under those R&D partnerships, we would not have been able to do and execute on the work that those organizations did on our behalf. And to remember, they did pay to do that and have those partnerships. So MustGrow, I believe we got a lot out of them. And it doesn't say that the partnerships are done. It's just the exclusive R&D partnerships are what are being dissolved. So going forward, yes, there's other partners potential, but there's still not saying that the current partners would not be in play for commercialization as well. But we have to look at it in that sense. Being a young organization 2 to 3 years ago when we signed these partnerships, we would not have been able to get data into South America or into some parts of the US. We would not have been able to get data right across the world with Bayer, and we would not have been able to get the data we got with Janssen. So I would say we've learned a lot. We've got a lot out of it, and now it's about taking that data and getting the right commercial deal in the right areas at the right country level across the entire globe.
With the dissolution of these deals, does it have more to do with the diversity of the end markets, where maybe they were best in one region or one country, but maybe not the best in the other? So doing sort of a blanket agreement just wouldn't benefit your overall strategy? It's better to do more work to find the right partner for each region?
Martin, when I look at this, like I say, you have to take this in time scales. And when we were younger, we did not have the cash to go and do this. We didn't have the expertise. We needed those, I guess, broader agreements to look at this. Evolving now, getting into more clear commercialization, working with Bayer, how we're working with them and the direction that they're doing, and actually the work that they're doing gives that ability now for us to be, a little bit more, take a step back and really see what is best for our business and our path forward. And you know what, I would say there's still a lot of things and a lot of opportunities with Bayer, but there's also a lot of opportunities with other organizations as well. And it does come down to that: who is strong in what region? How do we fit? Are we aligned commercially? Are we aligned on the value opportunity? And there's many things that go through in that decision point.
All right. Did Janssen and Sumitomo try to renew the exclusive agreement they had before, and you as MustGrow did not see the value they bring in, or was the expiration driven by them?
So if you look back to the data points on those, both those exclusive arrangements were extended on their behalf, and there was obligations on their side. As well as, I guess, going forward, we have discussed and discussed commercially with the organizations. Now it comes down to the value of the alignment, and do we see the same amount of opportunity, and how do we see it forward? So I'm going to have to leave it there. Just if you go back and look at the news releases, they did extend those two commercial or the R&D agreements. But it all comes down to alignment and the value, and picking the right partners for the markets that we want to get into.
There's a question here about your manufacturing capacity with your current toll manufacturing partners. Are you able to make any comment on that?
No, I can't make any comment on that. I mean, we're looking to produce with them, I guess, more and more product as we go forward here. But again, in terms of the capacity, they produce for numerous other companies as well. So again, we have discussions with them all the time, and same with other tollers. They're producing not just for us, but for other groups. So we have to fit in there and work with them.
To what extent are crop yields increased when your products are used?
So this is going to depend on the area and what you're seeing. So I'll go into Terra MG. Terra MG, typically they're only really looking right now at the control levels and looking at the aspect we have on nematodes and disease. And I'd have to go back and look at the yield values. With TerraSante, we're at those initial stages to really drive this at a farm gate level. We have had some data showing some, I would say, very impressive increases in organic potatoes out of the Washington area. We're still analyzing that data. And then, within the bat trials, which are continuing to get done now in Western Canada, we're seeing good initial, from what I've seen, reports and results on both the Phenomyces and clubroot, but we're still waiting to get those final yield data. So I would say, Martin, it's the extent could be over the map, depending on the crop and the region and what you're looking into, whether it be organic or conventional. But there's definitely things that we look at and are still getting that data in.
And I guess that's part of where the 3% comes up, is where you can get the biggest yields for the growers, that they're the ones who are going to be most likely to adopt that.
Yeah, I mean, the 3% would come in is how much of the organic acres can you penetrate, get sales in, because they don't have any other solution. And then also taking a look at maybe the conventional, how many of those acres would you be able to get sales in and all that. But yeah, exactly. The product needs to perform if the farmers are going to use it.
The revenue per acre of Terra MG is listed with $36 per acre for canola and pulse. Meanwhile, it's $440 per acre when looking at the retail price under the agreement with Bayer.
Yeah. So good question. What we're doing there is that, again, canola and pulse our crops are lower value crops. We're looking to go in there at a lower application rate because a farmer's not going to put down, the application rate that a strawberry farmer would. At strawberry farmers, $25,000 to $50,000 an acre, US dollars. Canola and pulse, you're looking at maybe, $800 to $1,600 an acre. So the canola pulse farmers here in Canada, where they're gonna go down and they're testing it now at a lower application rate. So you're looking at 2 to 4 liters per acre. I believe it's acre, Colin, or hectare. I can't remember, but in any event, they're all the same to me. 2 to 4 liters per acre. Whereas in the canola and pulse crops, the fruit and veggie crops, you're looking at 10, 20 times that.
Okay, so it's not a matter of pricing per the concentrate, it's the concentration of the application of it.
Yeah, we're taking a look at exactly the acres and what the application rate of our product would be and that. So it's got to be economic for the farmer. It has to work and it has to be economic, or you're not going to get nutrition. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's going to be a challenge with your pricing of it as well, because you can't, okay, well, a fruit grower will charge you this much and someone else will charge that much. You have to have kind of similar pricing, and then that sort of satisfies as many markets as possible.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have one label for fruit and veggies, potatoes, in the US, and same thing with potatoes. I mean, it's a lower value crop. Farmers will be putting it down at a lower application rate, we believe. And it has to be economic for them. It has to work. And I think at the end of the day, it's a solution that specifically on organic acres, they don't have a solution, and that so. That's the low-hanging fruit, and pardon the pun, but that's what it is.
All right. Have you negotiated the terms of royalties with Bayer at this point?
It is part of our contract. It's already pre-negotiated and in there.
All right. And I presume you can't share that with us.
We cannot share that, no.
Last year, the product news on TerraSante came out of nowhere. This year, the potential new technology for animal and human health is also comes that we were not expecting. Can you give some insights on what we cannot see in your pipeline? You did mention some pipeline products there. You're obviously working on additional future growth opportunities. Any hints as to what's going on there?
Well, I would first off say, so the human and animal health has always been one in my mind. I'm always, if you hear me talk, I'm always a proponent saying that if you are eating broccoli, you should have mustard with your broccoli just to get the benefit of the glucosinolate. If you do research with Synagrin and the glucosinolate as part of mustard, there is definitely some key human benefits as well as key animal benefits. We always had that in the back of our mind, but we just didn't have the ability, one, on the cash flow, but number two, the expertise to really tackle those. It was great getting that grant and being able to do it. I fully believe that it could be a tremendous opportunity, and I really look forward to seeing what comes out of that. On the other parts of the pipeline, yes, there's over 41 different glucosinolates in mustard. Each one will do something different in most cases. So what we're trying to do now is start characterizing those with the key groups to really understand those and how we can extrapolate those and how we can utilize those. So when you look in our pipeline, I would say this is what it is for now based on everything we know and some of the discovery work we've done. But in the future, I truly hope that there's other areas. So not only looking at mustards, but also looking at other opportunities, other products, other combinations that are out there in the marketplace that we can bring in and have synergies. So in my hope that this is just the start of our pipeline, but it's really about understanding and utilizing our expertise on that production aspect and understanding and driving what we can take out of mustards and moving that into the market.
And when you talk about animal health and human health, like, not to get too specific, but that would be some kind of a supplement. I could take a pill or sprinkle something on my cereal and to directly ingest it. Is that roughly what you guys are talking about?
That's what they're looking at right now. And I laugh about this because I do take a bit of mustard powder every morning, so I do swear by it. I don't propose anybody else do that. You talk to your doctor, but yes, it is. If you think of it within nutraceuticals, definitely on the human side. In the animal side, there's twofold. It's one looking at the feed and the feed quality, but also looking at the potentially removing antibiotic use in animals, which is a key, I would say, area of concern when you look at antimicrobial resistance. So, it's at the early stage, Martin. I'm excited, but we also have to taper it. It is a future opportunity that has to get vetted out first before we really start being able to understand and see where it has a fit.
Yeah, it's early stage. A long way to go there. Big opportunity, but a long way to go. All right.
Yes.
Any update on BioAdvantage trials with Nexus?
Yeah, so I said those are still ongoing, and data is coming in as we speak. And with harvest getting wrapped up, we will start getting hopefully the data put into the app that we're using, and we'll be able to see it. So far, just on key highlights, we're seeing some fairly good activity in both Aphanomyces and clubroot. But it comes down, and this one it comes going to come down to the yield and see how much of an impact we had there. But I'm still waiting on that data.
What part do you play in the global alliance against TR4? Is there some R&D ongoing with the alliance, or what could we expect out of this?
Yeah, so on that one, we were asked to join, and I do believe a lot of that was two of their key members are members from the Bayer team, from Bayer. And I don't know if that's why we were asked to join or not, but Bayer is doing and looking at the research on TR4. Actually, some of the early stage part of the grant, we're doing more work with Ag Canada on TR4. It's part of the molecule that we're really looking at deeper down. But part of that group is just being able to be connected and interacting with those folks to see what can be done and where. I'll be honest, that group is just starting to really get formed and really understand what's happening to see what can be done. We look forward to working with Bayer and the rest of the organizations on that alliance to see how we can tackle that problem.
Will you need more people in your team to identify and categorize the 41 different active components in the mustard you mentioned? Can we see or expect to see your team growing soon?
Yeah, and listen, we have to take those step by step. So we're looking at the key ones right now. Synagrin, Synalbin with two key glucosinoates. There are others, and I know our CFO always talks about mustard being a mini biorefinery and being able to push things out as we see fit. But that's where we're going to be doing most of the work through these other groups. But could you see the team growing if we have the opportunity to and to really dive deep on the IP potentially? But at this time, I would not see us putting a lot. Our goal is for commercialization to drive that. And if I wanted to put more team members, I'd be putting it towards driving more sales at this point and letting the other early stage stuff get taken care of on its own in a small part.
Yeah, and this is the team that we have, but there's more than just this page. I mean, you can include Bayer in there, you can include Agriculture Canada in there, you can include a whole bunch of other groups that we're doing research with around the world, and that. So, we're utilizing other people's expertise, other groups' expertise to help us do a lot of work, and so it's more than what you see.
You're largely a virtual organization, so to speak. You don't have like a building full of people or anything. It's just you guys, and you guys are essentially quarterbacking the research and coordinating that, and now with the sales and marketing. Do I have that roughly correct?
That's mostly correct. We do have an office in Saskatoon, and most of our work has gone virtual, as you know. But we also have a lab here in Saskatoon where we do a lot of our testing to make sure that the product that we're sending out is efficacious. It has the proper components in it, and so there is starting to become more and more, I guess, lab space or even warehouse space for product in that. But yep.
Yeah. And I guess as you grow your distribution in North America, you're going to have to build up your internal sales and marketing team to help coordinate and organize all of that.
Potentially. I mean, we have to assess that, and that we want to continue to run the company as lean as possible, and where we need help, we'll either be outsourcing it or bringing in it internally. But
Gentlemen, we had a 45-minute limit here. We're a little bit over that, and we are out of questions at this point. So I think it's time to wrap it up. Any final words or comments before we close things up here?
No, again, thank you everybody for attending and your questions. If you have further questions for us, you know how to get a hold of us. Our contact information is on the website. Colin and I, we try to answer questions as quickly as possible when we receive them, and we look forward to what the next year holds.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. That was great, tons of information. And have a great day, and I look forward to watching your progress. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin.
Thanks, Martin.